Caroline Mitchell here. I'm an ex-police detective and crime thriller author, and today I'll be discussing the unsolved murder of Missy Bevers. This is a case which set the internet on fire with theories due to a surveillance video of the victim's suspected killer going viral online. Join me as I break down this true crime case. This week's case took place in Midlothian in Texas. It's a small city, 25 miles southwest of Dallas, with a population of 27,000 people. It's a relatively safe and diverse city, and Terry, who was better known as Missy, lived in nearby Red Oak. She was said to be a bright and bubbly person who made friends easily. She married Brandon, her husband, in 1998, and they went on to have 3 daughters, and Missy became a stay-at-home mum. As her daughters grew older, she decided to make a career out of her passion for fitness. In 2016, she became a personal trainer and joined Camp Gladiator. They describe themselves as a life-changing fitness movement dedicated to transforming lives through dynamic, fun, and challenging workouts. This suited Missy's personality to a T, and she carried out weekly early bird boot camp sessions which started at 5 a.m. But people who had to go to work earlier were invited to attend at 4:30 in the morning. God, that's dedication for you. The night before her early bird class, she posted publicly on Facebook to tell her followers not to be put off by the rain. She was very active on social media and often posted pictures of her family on Facebook too, and they gave the impression of being a happy family. But that was all about to change. On Monday morning, April the 18th in 2016, Missy left for Creekside Church, which was a short drive away from her home in Red Oak. But someone was there ahead of her, as the surveillance footage from inside the church would later reveal. This is believed to be the person responsible for her murder. The suspect was dressed head to toe in black, with fake police tactical clothing which consisted of a flashlight mounted helmet, a balaclava, a tack vest, black trousers and boots. Footage captured them coming from the kitchen and dining area and walking into the church's hall. They can be seen carrying a weapon, and they walk with an unusual gait, with their feet turned out, more noticeable on the right side. They were later estimated to be between 5'2" and 5'8" in height. But you know what really gets me about this footage? It's how casually they walk through the building, opening doors as if looking for something or someone. Missy arrived at the church as usual to set up for her 4:30 class, and little did she know that 30 minutes before her arrival, the intruder was stalking the corridors, weapon in hand. At 4:16 a.m, Missy was seen on surveillance coming into the building. Her early bird clients were due to attend at 4:30 a.m. In fact, one of them arrived not long after Missy, but it was their first time at class and they didn't really know how to get into the building, so they waited under the awning outside. There were 2 other early birds who could have easily gained access because they had been there before, but one was delayed by a flat tire and the other one cried off. At 5 a.m, the rest of the class turned up, and all 5 of them went inside. They found Missy unresponsive, lying in a pool of blood and broken glass. One of the tools belonging to her attacker was believed to have been dropped and left nearby, and it said she was murdered shortly before 4:30 a.m. Her injuries were described as puncture wounds to the head and chest, although police were tight-lipped about the actual cause of death, but stated they were consistent with a weapon that the suspect was seen carrying at the time. And in the CCTV we can see a claw hammer and a crowbar of some type is being carried, although some people say that she was shot. But we do know that none of Missy's property or any of the church belongings were taken at the time. Now, when police receive reports of a serious incident like this, the clock begins to tick down. It's called the golden hour for a reason. The time immediately following serious crime is the richest for recovering evidence, because with each minute that passes, evidence erodes. Witnesses' memories fail, and people's recollections are coloured by outside events such as gossip and the media, and of course perpetrators get time to dispose of evidence too. So much importance is pinned on the early hours following a call like this. So with regards to Missy's murder, the question of motive would be the biggest one of all. I mean, why would anyone want to kill this loving mother and wife, a woman who was hugely popular in the community, someone who wouldn't hurt a fly? Initially, police thought it could have been a burglary gone wrong. After all, it was Monday morning, so any church takings could have been there from the night before. But when they viewed the surveillance footage, they changed their mind and classed it as a homicide. Now, I worked for the burglary and robbery team for a few years when I was a police officer. I've interviewed and charged numerous burglars and watched countless hours of surveillance footage. In my experience, when people commit burglaries, they are in and out so quickly. They don't go to the trouble of kidding themselves out like police officers, that's for sure. Burglaries are often committed by desperate people in order to fund drug habits. Such people are twitchy and nervous. Like I said, in and out in a matter of minutes. I have never seen anyone stroll around for half an hour without an apparent care in the world. And if they did, as soon as there's any sign of them getting caught, they would run. People commit these crimes usually, they go in with a certain mindset. Burglary doesn't carry a hefty prison sentence, so the risks justify the gain for them. It's highly unlikely that someone who goes in to burgle a church hall for a minor amount of money would escalate to murder, especially when they're completely unidentifiable. The church didn't have an alarm system and the suspect didn't vandalise the place. They broke the glass in the doorways in order to reach in and open them, and they've seen to enter different rooms as they make their way around the church, not bothering to close the doors after them. Then they start to jemmy a door and give up, and it feels like they're biding their time or making it look like a burglary maybe. The suspect then doubles back, coolly walking into the church's auditorium. The moments of Missy's murder were not captured on surveillance footage as far as we know. The biggest identifying marker of this suspect was their unusual gait. Police conducted what we call gait analysis. There's software available which now can conduct comparisons, and they were on the hunt of suspects with a similar gait. And may I say, that is not an authentic SWAT uniform. It looks like something that was just pieced together, probably bought online. But why would you even own such clothing? Well, in this case it provided excellent coverage from CCTV and surveillance footage. The light on his head gives vision but also deflects anyone from identifying their face. The clothing is dark in colour, so any blood wouldn't be picked up straight away. And it also provides protection against their own DNA being taken. Missy was a strong woman, well capable of fighting back. And this fake police uniform could also work to confuse witnesses should they turn up. Whoever did this thought things through. Missy was prolific on social media. She had over 1,400 photos available to the public with little or no privacy settings on her Facebook account. This provided easy access to information about her family, where she was going, her class times and locations, what car she drove, and even when her husband was away. And guys, I know a lot of us are guilty of this, but please exercise caution when sharing details online. It's so easy for stalkers to get to know of your regular haunts and your routines. And also when sharing pictures of your kids publicly, I'd advise against it. I'm not going to go off topic, but believe me when I say it's a bad idea. You can quite easily go onto Facebook now and set all your old posts and photos to private, and keep your friends list private too. So when Missy's murder hit the news, speculation was rife. Police later released footage of a white Nissan Altima which was seen driving around the car park of the nearest SWFA sporting and gun supply store. It was just over half a mile from the church, and this car was seen entering the car park at 1:58 a.m. and leaving at 2:04 a.m, a couple of hours before Missy was murdered. Unfortunately, CCTV was not clear enough to pick up the driver identity or their license plate. The driver of the car was acting strangely though, parking up for 2 minutes, then stopping and starting, turning on and off their headlights. The fact they turned off their lights while driving into the car park certainly suggests they had something to hide. They entered the car park at 1:58 a.m. and left at 2:04 a.m, just over a couple of hours before Missy was murdered. Unfortunately, the CCTV wasn't clear enough to pick up the driver identity or their license plate. The driver of the car is acting strangely, parking up for 2 minutes, then stopping and starting, turning on and off their headlights. The fact that they turned off their lights while entering the car park certainly suggests they had something to hide. And as you can see, there's some very strange behaviour going on here. At first I thought maybe it was some kids, up to no good, maybe they were taking drugs. But, if you're going to park up and smoke a spliff, then the windows would be down and they'd be hanging around for longer than that. A huge appeal was launched by police for the driver of this vehicle, and nobody came forward. Detectives have since said they do not believe this car was connected to Missy's murder, but they did continue to investigate and conducted what's called geotagging surveillance, amongst other things. But to date they have not released any further information with regards to this car. Right, we've discussed the scene and their surveillance video, so what about the suspects? Well, first of all, I have to say my disclaimer is in the box below. Nobody has been charged with Missy's death, and these are just my opinions, not fact. Well, Missy was very active on LinkedIn, and just 3 days before her murder she showed a friend a private message which she described as strange and creepy. The police later obtained a warrant and downloaded the message from LinkedIn. Details have not been released to the public, and police did look at family, friends and work colleagues, as well as an alleged man that she was having an affair with and his wife. Missy's husband Brandon was away on a fishing trip when Missy was murdered. People began to speculate that he was involved, and there were rumours of infidelities, of money problems, of Missy sending intimate texts to other men. What I can only describe as a witch hunt was launched against Brandon online. If people weren't victim blaming Missy for some alleged affairs, they were saying that her husband wasn't upset enough when being interviewed by journalists. The same journalist who shoved microphones in his face when he'd been home just minutes after learning about his wife's death. Personally, I don't see such behaviour as an indicator of guilt. I've seen footage of suspects crying their eyes out, only to learn afterwards that they were the ones responsible for the murder. Brandon's fishing trip was organised by his work. He didn't just take time off on a whim. And his alibi was thoroughly checked out by police. He regularly spoke to journalists and the police, appealing for witnesses to come forward. And I know I'm usually the first to say that quite often the worst murders are connected to the victims, and certainly in the case of domestic abuse. But I've looked at this case in detail and I don't believe that Brandon killed his wife. He was hundreds of miles away for starters, and this was confirmed by electronic records and several witnesses, including the captain of the boat. Brandon was a lot taller than the estimated height of the killer too, and when these details were released, the public began to look at his father, Randy, instead. Suspicion was further heightened when a dry cleaning company called the police after a bloodied shirt was dropped in by Randy to be cleaned. Randy spoke to police and the media, stating that the blood on the white shirt was caused by a dog fight between his Chihuahua and another dog. This was backed up by the fact that the dog was brought to the vet and later died. And the blood on the shirt was tested and it wasn't human blood. But it was the footage of him speaking to the media that was later analysed by the public online. People pointed out the similar gait and build to the suspect in the surveillance video.
Randy Beaver, as well as his son, just has been in the police station here behind me. They're inside of that police station right now. According to detectives, Randy Bevers took 4 shirts to the dry cleaner, 3 shirts described as men's shirts, 1 XXL women's shirt with blood stains on it on April 22nd. The dry clean supercenter reached out to police that same day. The clerk said that Bevers had explained the stains on the white shirt came from, quote, animal blood. Now, our team spoke to Randy Bevers himself. He says he was aware that police seized that shirt. He explained the blood is animal blood. A family dog, he says, a Chihuahua, was involved in a fight with another dog, and he was wearing this shirt at the time. He says he has provided police with a statement, and his son briefly explained the situation just outside of the police station for us.
It's a Chihuahua?
Right.
He got in a dog fight. That's all I'm going to say.
But Randy had a rock-solid alibi. He and his wife were pictured on social media on Sunday afternoon on a golf course in Oceanside with third parties present. Police independently confirmed Randy's alibi through thorough interviews and electronic records. So unless he had a TARDIS, he couldn't have killed Missy with his own hands. In May, police revealed that none of Missy's friends or family were being focused on. But police were looking at someone with interest outside of that circle. In December 2016, police obtained a warrant to search the home of a suspect by the name of Bobby Wayne Hendry. The man was an ex-police officer with a very dark past. He told officers that, yeah, he had some tactical clothing, but it didn't fit him anymore. He was working as a security guard and went to the same church as Missy, and it's said that he volunteered to work as security covering Missy's funeral. Bobby didn't fit the bill with regards to his height, but he was, over 6 feet tall. However, he did walk with a distinctive limp. He spoke to journalists while he was in prison and protested his innocence, saying that he didn't even know who Missy was. He agreed to a lie detector test and he passed. So like the other suspects, he had an alibi saying he was at home with their newly adopted baby all night. Now, there's a lot of controversy with regards to Bobby Wayne Hendry online and his alleged dark past when it comes to the use of guns and treatment of women. There's speculation about certain things which were found on his computer when it was seized. But he was cleared of wrongdoing and police found nothing substantial to tie him to Missy's murder, and he is deemed no longer a suspect. Some people say that the person in the footage was an angry wife who wanted to kill Missy because she was having an affair with her husband. Others say that the gait reminds them of anything from a pregnant woman to an ex-ballerina. But in my experience from being in the police, I just doubt very much that this was a woman. For one thing, a pregnant woman would not risk her baby in this way. And secondly, crimes of passion are just that, done in the heat of the moment, quick, vicious and brutal. The person who did this just appeared too calm. It doesn't fit the bill. Another theory is that there's a police cover-up, as they're the ones involved. And it's a common theory that people come up with in many unsolved true crimes. I've seen comments saying that Missy was having an affair with a police officer, and others saying that she was carrying on with the whole team. I mean, seriously. Her daughter has even been contacted on Facebook by people who sent her messages telling her that her father killed her mother. We must never lose sight of the fact that Missy was a victim in all of this. And okay, so with regards to police, I just want to explain that when it comes to homicide cases, there is no small team of half a dozen people investigating each case. It's not like on TV or even on the books you read. There are hundreds of officers involved from one stage to another, and numerous experts from various departments also involved. While ownership may well sit with one team, it's overseen by senior officers and much larger departments such as the FBI. In high-profile cases such as these, there would be independent agencies conducting thorough inquiries to ensure that the case is being run properly. Even now, 4 years later, Midlothian Police Department are working hard on the case, getting fresh eyes and having new experts involved in the investigation. There was some recent huge billboard posters that were up as well. Don't forget, we only know about what's released. That is a tiny percentage of the overall investigation. Officers may already know who the suspect is, but currently lack the evidence to take it all away, and that happens a lot, which is very frustrating for the officers involved. But I say currently because even after this length of time, things can change, and I sincerely hope that in the case of Missy Bevers that it will. As for my opinion, well, I believe that Missy knew of her attacker. I believe the attack was planned, but the person doing it was more lucky than clever, as they could have easily been caught by her early bird clients. I believe that someone out there knows who this person is but are keeping quiet. And I think the creepy LinkedIn messages may be connected. And this is someone who took an overly keen interest in Missy, but she knocked back. According to her camp members, she was subdued in the days leading up to her death, so it could have played on her mind.
She seemed a little more reserved.
Mark Garcia works at a gym where Bevers used to work out. He says that in recent weeks, the 45-year-old didn't seem like herself.
I don't think she was at the wrong place at the wrong time. I feel like someone was after her.
I couldn't stand it.
Patsy Macy took classes from Bevers.
I couldn't stand the fact that somebody hurt her.
I think the person who killed her wanted to make it look like a burglary, but went there with one thing on their mind: to kill Missy Bevers. I don't know who it is, but I think this is a case we'll be revisiting again one day. And I'd love to hear your theories, but please be respectful of the victims and the loved ones she left behind. Now, if you'd like to watch another true crime video involving surveillance footage, then I recommend you check out my Delphi Murders video, but be warned, this will drive you crazy. I've got a cracking case lined up for next week, so make sure you subscribe to be notified, otherwise I could get lost in the ethers of YouTube and you might never hear from me again. And do give us a like if you got value out of this video, I really appreciate it. Now, I know this was really creepy, but thankfully these types of crimes are extremely rare. So don't let them keep you awake at night. Until next time, bye bye.